What's up, guys, and welcome to today's video. I've got my unsweet tea, and I'm flipping my Kershaw Lucha, my nice orange one, you know, gotta match the nails. And today I'm on my porch kind of hanging out, and this video is honestly gonna be a little more intense than my past videos in terms of what we get to talking about. And the reason for that is because today I'm going to talk about Balisong flipping, not the hobby, the YouTuber. This is something that people have wanted me to bring up for a while, and, you know, I think, honestly, it's time. And the reason for that is because of a person named Sans Serif on YouTube. If you go down to the description, you'll find a link to their video that inspired me to make this video. That video was actually brought to my attention by one of my amazing patrons by the name of Spirit. So thank you, Spirit, for showing me Sans Serif's channel. I ended up watching like all their videos, and they're all really good. So if you guys like this kind of content, go check out Sans Serif because they make really good stuff too. Now, let's get into this because this is going to be a little bit difficult to talk about. The Balisong community has had drama basically the whole time. It's a problem, I think, with the community itself. For some reason, people just really like to exist in drama in the community, and it's not a new problem. It's not something that's happened because of like drama for Balisong flipping or whatever. There has been drama in the Balisong community literally since its incarnation. For some reason, the people in the Balisong community just really like to shit on each other and, like, you know, just, I don't know, in general, it just kind of gets sort of toxic sometimes, and it's really disappointing. I don't know what the cause is. Ooh, that was a close one. I don't know what the cause is, if it's something related to the Balisong community itself, or if it's just the people in it, but in general, the Balisong community has had a lot of drama and toxicity, and that sucks. It's been a continuous problem for a really long time. I got into the Balisong community back in 2014 is when I first, like, actually made an effort to join the community and, like, you know, pay attention to what was going on and stuff like that. So I've been in the Balisong community for a while, and I've gotten to see, you know, companies and makers rise and fall, and all sorts of different YouTube personalities pop up and disappear and stuff like that. And so there's always been toxicity. If you want to see a good example of what I would call a similar level of hate to Balisong flipping, I would look into, there was this guy who went by the name Knife Caviar on YouTube, and he would upload, I think, not daily vlogs, but he would upload vlogs relatively often, and they would include, like, Balisong reviews, and people hated him. Oh my god, it was terrible. People were so, like, mad about Knife Caviar because he would, like, he was, like, into streetwear culture and would, like, buy Balisongs and then resell them for over market value or whatever. Oh no, I poked myself in the hand. Ouch. Mwah. There we go. That's how you fix it, is with your mouth. Don't take that advice. That's bad advice. Neosporin. So this kind of hatred is not new, right? This is not a new thing. But I think the case of Balisong flipping is an especially interesting one because he is currently what I would call the fastest growing Balisong specific channel. He's certainly not the biggest yet. There are other channels that have more subscribers, but in terms of people who are gaining subscribers at an extremely high rate, he's easily the fastest growing. And I wanted to go over some of the controversy about Balisong flipping just to give you guys my opinion and what's going on there. So I think the first one that's going to be, you know, the most direct one is the racist joke that he made on Instagram and the whole controversy surrounding that, right? Balisong flipping made a racist joke on Instagram, and people flipped out about it. I made a call-out post myself saying, hey, Balisong flipping did this. That's a super fucked up thing. And I am of the belief that when somebody does something that is like a fucked up, bad taste joke or whatever, they should be called out on that. That is like, you can't just have somebody say something super shitty and then be like, oh, but he means well. Like, that's not... So in Sans Serif's video, he brought up the fact that, like, you know, Balisong's flipping heart, you know, you can't glean where his heart is at just from his words alone, and you can't determine, you know, what he's working on doing. And so... And I agree with that. But... you know, when somebody says something like that, when you have a racist comment or something like that, I do think it is important for the people around you to keep you in check. I think it's very important for the people around you to be like, hey, that was fucked up what you said, don't say that. And then, do you know what the correct response is? You go, oh damn, I'm sorry about that, that is fucked up, I won't do that again. You apologize for what you did. And so that's the thing at the end of the day. And I don't know if Balisong Flipping ever did like a direct apology. I do know that his handling of the situation was a little bit weird because initially on Instagram, some of the stuff that happened was not him saying, oh geez, sorry I said that. It was, oh no, I never said that. Or I was talking about something else. It wasn't the obvious racist joke it was. It was him trying to cover up for what he did rather than apologize. In a scenario like that, when you say something that is of that kind of nature, the thing to do is to apologize for it and learn from your mistake and move on and grow. And so I think, you know, in the future, I really hope that Balisong Flipping has learned and grown from that. And from what I'm aware of, this type of thing hasn't happened again. So I would assume that he has learned and grown from it. But in that kind of scenario, it's very important not to fight, oh, whether or not it happened. If everybody knows that it happened, then it happened. It's not about that. It's about how you respond to that. It's about how you say, you know what? I was wrong. You guys are right. I'm sorry for that, and I will be better, right? That's the thing at the end of the day. I have absolutely fucked up in the past. I am, if you guys didn't know, I'm from the middle of nowhere in Texas, and I am honestly really ashamed of when I was younger, we would just make racist jokes all the time. It was bad, and it was because we lived in a not just primarily white town, a specifically only white town in the middle of nowhere in Texas. And so making racist jokes was just like a thing to do, and it was really shitty and bad. And I'm really glad I got to move out of there, because as soon as I moved away from there and I got a more diverse friend group, I moved to Orlando and I got to meet a lot of people. It helped me a lot in terms of growing as a person. And I think it's very important that people learn that everybody can grow as a person and everybody needs to grow as a person. So this is all to say, is Balisong Flipping a racist because he made a racist joke? And the answer to that is a resounding no. It is not. You cannot define somebody's entire idea and their ideology based off of one stupid joke that they made that was a mistake, and that was something that they really shouldn't have done and have hopefully apologized for, right? Like, that's what I'm getting at here. You can't just see one joke that somebody made and said, oh, this person is an outright devout racist. Whereas, you know, you don't know what they've done in their life. You don't know what they're doing. Yes, they made a fucked up joke, and that sucks, and we should, you know, tell them that that sucks. But you can't call them a racist. And I think I am guilty of this. I think I had a very emotional, negative reaction to the original post of by Balisong Flipping, and I think I may have called him directly racist, and that was wrong. That's not the way to go about this. And so, like, I apologize for that, because that was a out-of-line thing to say. The thing he said was racist. Himself, I can't make that sort of judgment about a person just from one thing they said. And in general, with the way that he acts in, you know, his normal life, I'm certain he's very much not. So leveraging that kind of criticism against somebody, being like, well, he's a racist, that's just wrong. It's just outright wrong. Like, you're just not correct. That's not something that you can draw from what has happened, if that makes sense. So moving on from that, and that's the other thing too, is that one thing I've noticed a lot is people, like, are using that as, like, their main hatred point against him, and I don't think that that's very good. Like, that's a super negative thing to do, because you're taking this one time that somebody messed up, and then you're making that their whole life, and the only thing that you talk about them is how they messed up that one time. And, like, I don't know, that's kind of shitty. So I don't think the entire discourse about Balisong Flipping should be about whether or not he's racist, because he's not. That's just objectively true. He's just not racist. He made a racist joke, but he is not a racist person, right? So, moving on from that, I think the other thing that he has is that he is a clone supporter, and people have a lot of hate about, you know, him being a supporter of cloning in the hobby. And this has been something in the Balisong community for a long time. People super toxic against people that support clones. If you want to see one of the original examples of this in the Balisong hobby, you can also look back to not Knife Caviar, but NRB, or Not a Real Boy on YouTube. I Am Not a Real Boy was one of the first Balisong YouTubers that was like a Balisong specific YouTuber that I watched. And I Am Not a Real Boy is... he got so much hate. He made videos about clones, and I watched all of them back in the day. And they were like reviews of clones, or they were like how to do different things, or like reviews of this knife or that knife. But originally he started with clones, and that was just because that's what he could afford. And at that time in my life, that's what I could afford. Or actually, at that time in my life, I really couldn't even afford the clones. I just wanted them very badly. But like, here's the thing. I made a video all about why you shouldn't buy a clone, and I do stand by that. I do think you shouldn't buy a clone if you can avoid it. However, I said very clearly in that video that buying a clone does not make you a bad person, and buying a clone is not a reason to hate on somebody. You shouldn't utilize the fact that somebody bought a clone to be like, oh, well, that person's bad, and I'm going to be really angry at them and mean to them. It's like, no, don't do that. Don't shame a person for their preferences when all they wanted to do was own something that looks really cool and something that they've like dreamt about having for a long time, and suddenly the proposition of having that thing, say like a replicant, they wanted a replicant, they love the look of a replicant, but they're gonna buy a rep clone because that's what they can afford. And yeah, that kind of sucks, because the rep clone itself is intellectual property theft. But buying the rep clone doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that that's what you were into, and that's what you had the money to afford. And I think it's okay to buy things that you like. All right? If you can avoid it, if you can, I would say, buy an Alien or buy the Falcon or whatever. But in general, buying clones does not make you a bad person, and is not a reason to leverage hate against somebody. And that's been a big problem in the community. As I said, NRB, Not a Real Boy, supported clones when he first started, and it was a whole issue. People gave him so much hate. And the problem with hate in the community, or the problem with hate in general, is that if you leverage a bunch of hate against a person, one of the main ways that a person has to fight against that hate is to double down. And so what they'll do is you leveraging hate against a person will cause them to get worse, or like do the thing that you don't like more and more actively. So it's not a good method of making somebody stop doing something. That's why I made the clone video I did. I wanted to educate people and say, here, this is the actual like legit reason that you shouldn't buy a clone, right? Not the whole hatred reason. This has nothing to do with hatred or being mean to anybody. This is the reason that you shouldn't buy a clone from like a internal perspective. This is like, you know, thinking about it. It is intellectual property theft, so you don't want to support that, so don't buy a clone. It's not go get mad at people for supporting intellectual property theft. That is not the message, and that is a bad message. Like, I don't know, it does frustrate me. I've seen people in my Discord server who were like getting mad at somebody because they were considering buying a clone, and I stepped in and I was like, hey, no, do not do this. Like, your little weird crusade against this person because they're buying a clone is not helpful, and it's not going to change hearts and minds. It's going to make people feel sad and ostracized from the community, and that sucks. If you enjoy the look of something and you don't have the money to buy it, buying a clone is perfectly okay. It's just something that you should think about before doing it. It's something that you should consider an alternative if you can, and then if you decide against it, whatever. It's no skin off my back, and really it's no skin off anybody's back. And at the end of the day, buying clones leads people into buying real knives. Clones are an avenue into the Balisong community. Almost every person I know started buying some kind of clone. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter if it's a cheap Benchmade knockoff or something from Amazon for $10 or whatever. Almost everybody has bought a clone at some point. And that has led to them potentially buying more stuff like this in the future that they actually spend their hard-earned money on and support the Balisong industry. Clones don't really support the Balisong community because all of that money just ships off to China, to the One, to their like factory system. I've talked about it in a previous video, but clones don't support the community. But buying clones means that people are more likely to get real knives later. And that does support the community. So you can't just hate on people and make them leave just because they bought a clone. That's stupid and bad. I don't like it. Can you tell I'm passionate about this? I took notes just so I could like have some sort of direction to this, because otherwise this video is going to be an hour long. How long is this video so far, actually? I actually don't know. I can't see. Oh, 15 minutes right now. Jeez. Okay. Other than that, I wanted to move on to just some other things about Balisong Flipping for my thoughts. First of all, the truth is I don't really watch his content, and the reason for that is not because I don't like his content. I think that Balisong Flipping's, there we go, stuff is perfectly good, and a lot of people really like it. Obviously, he has over 150,000 subscribers now, right? That's awesome. And it's because he's had these daily uploads that he's very continuous about, and I'm kind of following in those footsteps doing this that I am now, right? You know, I got myself a nice little camera, and then I had the realization, oh, hey, I could actually make, you know, low-effort daily uploads that are a lot easier to produce than our main content. Today, we're releasing a video in just a few minutes, actually, that, like, took me weeks of work and editing and hours and hours and hours of editing to make it look as good as it does and sound as good as it does and be as funny as it is, and I put in, you know, hours and hours and hours and hours of work just for one video, and that is exhausting. So I love this format. I love being able to just pop on a camera and talk to you guys and then upload that, and I'm good. I don't even have to worry about it. It's so nice. And Balisong Flipping has been doing that for a long time, and a lot of people really enjoy his content, and I think that's a great thing, because the more people that enjoy Balisong Flipping in general, not the YouTube channel. This time I'm talking about the hobby. Balisong Flipping in general is something that I would like to see more people interested in. As Zan brought up, because Zan wanted to basically hopefully help out the community in terms of the Balisong community in Canada, because Canada, being a place where Balisong, like live-bladed Balisongs like this, are illegal, there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of mistrust by the public that is kind of misguided. And I think that that leads to issues for people in the Balisong community. So I think it's really good for Zan to be like, hey, I want to, you know, try to help. I want to use whatever influence I can glean from doing videos to maybe make it better, maybe make more of a community inside of Canada so that we can have... Ooh, I had a burp. So that we can have, you know, more people interested in the hobby. And I absolutely agree with that take, because anything that gets more people interested in the hobby is a positive thing, in my opinion. The larger the Balisong hobby grows, the better and more accessible products become. That's why you have things like Flytanium making all of the knives that they're doing. And that's why you have things like people... just creating trainer after trainer after trainer. You know, there's a million different things that exist. And I think that that is pretty freaking sweet. So, yes, at the end of the day, I think that Balisong Flipping's content is great. You know, I don't really watch it because I prefer edited, you know, more like things that are more finished and polished and whatever, but that's just my preference for what I watch on YouTube. I don't watch a lot of gaming content or like streaming content. I mostly watch, you know, finished things. And I think that comes from my affinity for the film industry, and like that's what I do as a job is, you know, create stuff. I do sound in the film industry, and so like that's like half of what I do. But either way, at the end of the day, I absolutely think that the guy's content is great. However, I do want to point out it's not original, which is like, you know, nobody makes anything original. Balisong Flipping's content is a derivation? Oh god, I have no idea how you pronounce that. It is derived from what was created by Assassin Flown, or Assflow, known as the Daily Drop. Assassin Flown, Patrick, 8 years ago created something known as the Daily Drop. And the Daily Drop was literally him uploading a video every day of him flipping his Balisong and talking about a topic. And he would talk about that topic until he dropped the knife, and that was how the video would end. And so obviously, like, the format has changed somewhat, but the idea of flipping a Balisong and talking about a topic and, you know, doing that every single day is nothing new. The thing that made it successful is the way that Balisong Flipping has gone about that, and the way that he's gone about building a community and stuff like that. So, you know, the idea itself, not necessarily original, but the way that he went about it is original. So I think there is merit to that. I will say the one thing that I have noticed, right? So I talked about earlier, if you leverage hate against somebody, it causes them to kind of double down depending on how they react to that hate. One thing I've noticed with Balisong Flipping, and I don't know if this is something that's just from the way he is, or if it's something that was created, you know, from the hatred that he was receiving from people, but Balisong Flipping definitely has a sort of troll mindset, right? I've noticed both in his videos, he'll title them in ways that are kind of like weirdly negative, or he'll like do things that are negative against his fans. Like when he made his Discord server, I joined the original Discord server, you know, with his fans and stuff, and he was just like banning people for nothing. And obviously it was a joke to a degree. Like, you know, you could tell he was just joking around. Him and his friends, they were, you know, doing a big meme or whatever, but at the same time, that is kind of mean to ban a bunch of people who like your content from your Discord server for doing essentially nothing. You know, so it's weird to me because he does this stuff that's very troll-esque. You know, he has a very troll-y mindset, I would say, and I don't know if that's just how he is as a person, or if that's a result of some of the hate he's received, and it's him, you know, compensating for that in maybe what I would consider a negative way. So that is one thing that I've noticed a lot about Balisong Flipping, is that, like, he generally has a very interesting relationship with his fans, I would say. You know, I try to be extremely positive and open to people, and I know that he does the same. I know that, like, in chats and stuff, he generally acts pretty cool, but at the same time, I've seen a number of examples of him acting in sort of a toxic way towards, you know, his fan base and or other people, and so that, I don't know, it's a little weird. So that is one thing that I'm kind of confused by, but at the same time, I don't know enough, and I haven't watched enough of his content or participated in, you know, that side of the community to really have a good enough opinion on that. But at the same time, I do think that the hate that Balisong Flipping gets is both A, undeserved, and B, very normal for the Balisong community. As I said, the same kind of shit happened to Knife Caviar. The same kind of shit happened to NRB, I Am Not a Real Boy, knives. And NRB now is a very respected knife maker. He makes some really cool stuff, like the Koenig. The Koenig's a really cool knife. And, like, you know, you can't... It's very frustrating to see people get all up in a hizzy about that. You know, but it's sad to see that it's a continuous thing, because it's just all this stuff that's happened previously. Well, it's the same stuff that's happening right now, and it's still just as much a problem right now as it was back then. Okay, so to close up here, toxicity in the community is something that has been around forever, right? The community has been toxic since day one, and that kind of sucks. So what can we do about it? Well, there's a number of things we can do about it. One of the main ones is that we are the next generation of Balisong flippers, right? Like, the people in the community now, there are more and more people joining the community now than ever before. It's because we're in a sort of Balisong renaissance, right? Like, there's just so much happening and so much more stuff existing in the community now, and I think that's super important. And so what that means is that the responsibility at the end of the day lies with us. It lies with the content creators, and it lies with you, the people who are watching this stuff, and hopefully taking the advice in terms of, if you see hate being leveraged, try using positive stuff to fight against it. If you see somebody post their Lego Balisong on Reddit, go say, hey, that's really cool, right? Like, don't let people hate on other people for their, with whatever their weird, shitty takes are. Those people need to be ignored and instead drowned out with love from the community. It's our responsibility as people to help other people that are getting into the community feel more accepted and more impassioned and embraced by the community. And so the whole point of this is that at the end of the day, we need to support each other more than the haters can be all angry about it. Because the people who are angry have been in the Balisong community for forever. So now I want to see the people who aren't angry, the people who are just here to vibe and have a good time and flip. I want to see you guys supporting one another and, increasing the amount that you help one another. Because that's the only thing that'll really fight it at the end of the day, right? We have to ignore the people who are being pissy, spoil sports about it, and we need to encourage the people who are being good and the people who are new to the hobby. Because encouragement is what's going to drive this hobby forward into the future, not shame. That's exactly what I said in our whole video about clones. Shaming somebody won't help. You trying to leverage shame against somebody isn't going to make them not buy a clone. It's going to make them leave the Balisong community. And that sucks. Don't do that. Instead, say, hey man, cool clone. What knives do you want to get in the future? Talk to them about it. Tell them about the knives you have. Start a conversation. Do something other than just trying to, shit all over them and be like, bad, don't buy a clone, that's bad. It's like, you're not getting the point across in a way that's going to help this person. You're just being mean. And that sucks. So, I don't know if I made any sense during this video. I don't know if my point came across at all, but this whole topic of whatever, the thing is, this is nothing new to me. This whole idea of there being drama and toxicity in the community, it's such a old thing for the Balisong community that it really sucks. And I want to fix it. I try all the time to be positive. I try to be a important and good influence on people and see if I can help people understand, hey, you need to be nice to other people. And I hope that you can take that and do it too, because that's what we need right now, is more love in the community and more support all around. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I'm a little low. I'm a little excited. I'm sorry I got all impassioned during this, but I hope you guys took something from this, and I hope you have a good day, because I know I'm going to. And hopefully I see you in the next one. Make sure to go subscribe to Sans Serif, subscribe to Balisong Flipping if you want, subscribe to me, or I'll kill you. Good night. Peace.